everyone.
So excited to have you here to the Greater Heartland Tech Trainers
Yes.
class today.
Yes.
So, Sam, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Samantha Key, and I am the Market Center Tech Trainer for Little Rock, Arkansas. And I'm excited to be here today to teach you guys about how to command your database.
That is so exciting, and I'm going to kind of co host with you.
Mhm.
So, my name is Jess Weber, and I am the MCTT in Chesterfield in St. Louis, as well as in Pinnacle in Illinois. So, I
So
cannot wait
fancy.
to get started to talk about commanding your database.
Yes.
So, I think, Sam, you're going to drive today while we take a look at what command can do for us.
Yes, we're going to get in, and I'll show you guys all my database and how
Woohoo!
it works. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So maybe there it is. Sorry, it took us
Oop,
a
there
second.
it
Got it.
is.
There it is. Okay. So this is it. First thing first, you've got to get into command. So let's dive right into the contacts applet, which is your second one on the side here, the little picture of the person.
And pro tip for those of you that don't know what those icons stand for, if you click your red KW, it'll actually pop out the menu and tell you, which is one of my favorite little hidden features.
Or if you hover, I'm a hoverer.
There you go. So
So
what are we looking at here?
this is your database. This is all of the names of all the people in my database. I have my tags showing and the last time that contact record was updated. So do we
So
want,
Sam, tell me this. What is a contact? What's the point of putting it in command instead of like my phone or my email?
well, the point of putting it in command is that once you have the contact, which is our Keller Williams definition of the contact is person that you're communicating with in two-way, like two-way communication. I'm
Mm-hmm.
communicating with my contact and they are communicating back to me and we are having conversation. So I can set up systems in command to help me leverage that communication so that I'm not having to constantly send them out emails or remind them of things or feed them information. My system can do that for me and then I can go find new people to have engagement with.
Awesome. So, could we start with looking at a contact perhaps? I think that would help me get
Absolutely.
a better understanding of this.
I will actually get into my contact. This is my pro tip to everybody is that I have created a contact card for myself with my information in it. And this way, anytime I want to test out something new, I can see it in my contact. I can do it with my email. That way I have all the power over what it will and will not do. And before I actually put somebody on that plan or send them that safe search or whatever.
I love that.
So here is my contact. You can see my name, my health score. I've got some tags here, um, phone number, email, address, the big three, as I like to call them, that make a healthy contact card. This, if we wanted to edit this, there's the little pencil button right here, and we'll just click on that, and then we'll get into what it looks like when you edit it. So when you first start, you're going to put the name in. I've built a relationship in here with my mom. This is really great for if you have co-buyers or co-sellers, or if you want to make sure that you can quickly get from one contact to another. Like if you have a family that you're working with and you need to add information to all of their contact cards, you can just get to one through the other without having to go out of the contact card itself back into the database and like searching for them. So I'll show you that when I close this out and I'll go to that new one. But I have my relationship there. There are lots of options for relationships. It's not just limited to family. You can do business partner, partner, child-in-law, step, grandparent, so many. So
Yeah, and while we're talking about that, I noticed that you only have yourself as an individual, not you with like a spouse or significant other as
mhm.
like John and Jane Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Best practice for those of you that are working inside Command is to do it as an individual, because then you can put all of their relevant data, like an email address and phone number, in there separately for the husband and wife, or however it would be on a contract, because typically you don't put John and Jane Smith as a signer. So I always like to start people out the correct way from day one, putting in context, because that's going to play into every other piece of Command.
Yes. Yes, that's a great tip. Good. And then I have my email and my phone number. And then I don't have anything for myself as a lead source because I put myself in here. But there are lots of options for lead sourcing. And I think this is pretty important because then you can figure out like where your person came from, how do you know them? And if you're trying to tally up, like, okay, I have so many sources that came from a landing page or whatnot, you can do that there. And then you can also do it from a contact. So say, I'll use my example. Harry Potter, we're friends.
Woohoo!
So if Harry Potter is the person that led me to this lead or contact of Samantha Key, I can notate that in there so that I know that a specific person sent me that contact's information or connected us together, which is cool. And then you can mark them as a lead. So the definition of a lead is that is somebody that you are communicating with that hasn't necessarily communicated back with you. So when you get those Facebook leads, they sit as a lead until they reach back out to you and then they convert into a contact.
That's a good thing to note because I get that question all the time.
And if you're setting this is a sidetrack, sorry. If you're setting your goals, it's important to go ahead and mark people as leads and then take them off leads and convert them into contacts because it will help you know how many leads you converted into contacts and what that ratio is.
I love
for
that.
Another part of Command. You can add them to the sales pipeline, and then we have tags. These are my favorite.
Why is that?
Because I'm a very visual person, and for me in my database, I want to know basically everything that I need to know how that contact needs to operate, or I need to communicate with that contact from within my tag. So I know where, like, I'm a KW Little Rock agent. They always get a mass email. They're on that mass email list. If something happened and this person was like, I don't want your emails anymore, but I still needed to communicate with them. Oh, sorry, guys. I would give them a like, do not market or do not email list contact tag. If you need to know that they're a buyer or a seller, or first-time home buyer or investor or another agent, the tags are just the way you break up everybody in your database so you know how best to communicate with them. Because you would never communicate with a first-time home buyer the same way you would communicate with somebody who's maybe an investor and has purchased 10 properties. Like there's a different level of knowledge there, and you want to cater to that level of knowledge when you are communicating with people.
Yeah, and another thing I like to throw in here is that you're not limited to just one tag or 5 tags or anything like that. I would not suggest 400 as I've seen in some databases, but I do suggest that using both words and the color coding, you come up with several categories that are going to benefit you and your business in terms of organizing the people that you want to work with. So there are some that are system tags, meaning something created by Keller Williams International that already exists. Example would be that buyer, seller, allied resource, that kind of thing. But if you lived in a different state, like for a while I lived in Atlanta, I have my database sorted where some of my contacts I met in Atlanta, some I met when I lived in Chicago, and others I met when I lived in St. Louis. So I tag them based on where I met them because I have different communication styles with each of those groups of people. So really, I just encourage people, don't go crazy with the tags until you really sit down and figure out what is important to you and your business. The good news is you can bulk tag and you can bulk remove tags in the future. So, it's one of those things that it's important to think about, but you can't break Command. So don't freak out about it if you do go tag crazy.
Yeah. And you can always, if you have like a whole list of how you want tags, you can also kind of bulk enter and create tags in the settings too.
Correct. So let's move on and let's look at the additional information we can add quickly, because I want to move on from just a contact to a collection of contacts.
Perfect. So you have additional information. You can put their address in here. When you put an address in, it automatically, depending on where they live, puts them into a neighborhood, which is super helpful for a smart plan later. You also have legal name, description, birthday. You do not have to put the year. This is something I like to tell everybody. If you don't want the year in there, it doesn't matter. We just need the date. Their home anniversary for when they buy a home, more ways to add relationships, work. And then you also can create custom. I have a custom field here for pets, because if a realtor was ever to work with me, they would need to know the names of my cats. Sorry, that's just who I am as a human being. So I made sure to notate that there in my contact card.
I love that. And that's another piece, just kind of like tags that you can use to, again, customize your business needs. So kids' names, where they went to high school if you're a St. Louisan is important. You know, any favorite candy if you're a candy drop-off type person. You know, it's really whatever is going to suit your needs. So
Totally.
it looks like we've covered the left-hand side of this contact card that we were looking at. What does the right-hand side of this do?
So we have our timeline. So you can see anytime that email has been sent out from the email associated for this contact. You can also see, let's see if I can find one. It's not, oh, here we go. You can see where this contact has maybe viewed a neighborhood that was sent in a neighborhood nurture or a market snapshot or something from the consumer site, the app. You can see what opportunities they're associated with, what smart plans they sit on, if there are any tasks or any notes. And then you can also see what saved search has been created for them.
That's awesome. So what I'm hearing you say is that inside this one contact, we can actually see how we interact with this contact. So there's 4 rules of a database, and we like to always mention those when we're talking about contacts and databases. And so I feel like these kind of fit that. So do you remember what the first rule is?
You gotta have a
database?
You gotta have a database.
You do. You have to have it, and you have to build it.
Yes.
So
and then there we go. Build it.
Build it. Okay, so we are building it starting with one person right here. What's next?
Then we have to communicate with it.
We do. Well, we have to feed it too.
Feed it.
So I think you had them in reverse order in your head, and I still think that's a very valid way to do it. But feed it means grow your database. Or if you're not growing the database by adding people, which you should be doing, you should at least be working on adding data to your people. So that's why it's so important to know that you can come back and edit this card at any time.
Right.
And then you already said the third one.
Feed it. That's my favorite.
Communicate with it. So that's why having this contact card is so valuable, because the timeline shows you when you're talking to somebody and how you're communicating with them. And the smart plans show you what systematic approaches that you have set up for communication are. And then let's talk about that last one really fast. What's the final stage?
Service all the opportunities that come your way. How do we make this a forever thing?
Yes. And again, this contact card shows us that by showing us the opportunities, by showing us the save searches they may have set up on your website or app. All of these details are all in one place. So we've now looked at all of kind of the basics of one person. How do I get more than one person in my command? How do I make this go from a contact to a database? Actually, I should ask you the question, what is a database?
Well, a database is all of the contacts. So that's all of the people that you would like to communicate. And your database can come from lots of different places. They can come from your phone. It can come from people that you've met at the supermarket, people that you've shared your app with, people that you've met at an open house, people that have called you off signs. All of those people that you communicate with about real estate are part of that database. So you can
go ahead.
I was gonna say, you can add them in here. There's this import button. If you want to bring a lot of people in, there's a specific type of CSV file that you can download. So if you are manually trying to put a bunch of sources of contacts together, you can download this and put them in there.
That is
And
so
you
cool.
also, when they send you their Excel spreadsheet back or their CSV file back, you can pre-tag your database.
What?
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 That's my favorite. I'm like, go ahead and put all the tags in there now so then you don't have to
Yes.
do it later.
So let's have this conversation. So there's a
Mhm,
couple of different ways to get the people out of your phone, out of your email into
mhm,
Command.
mhm,
What we have mentioned is you can do it manually by putting in an individual at a time.
mhm,
You can do it by downloading the spreadsheet and manually entering people into the spreadsheet.
mhm,
Or, third way, you can download spreadsheets from other sources,
mhm.
have them formatted, and then utilize those and upload it.
Yes.
Sam, what do you prefer? I know I work with a lot of agents, different market centers, all that kind of stuff. Some really, really like uploading everything to Command and then editing it, and some
Mhm.
really like doing what you just mentioned, editing in the spreadsheet before uploading. What's your favorite method and why?
My favorite method is to edit in the spreadsheet and then put it into command because then I know what is in my command is like true and real and correct information. And then I don't have to spend time. Like, I know that if I want to talk to Harry Potter, because I had him on my spreadsheet and I updated his information before I put him in, I know that all of his information is true, accurate, and I don't have to worry about like, oh, does he have a number? Does he not have a number? And then I can
Mm-hmm.
kind of preemptively organize my database before I get it in command and start making it work.
I love that. And see, you and I are complete opposites. I find spreadsheets overwhelming. So what I like to do is I do like to double check and make sure there aren't a bunch of duplicates because that's going to make me
Mhm.
tear my hair out. But
Right.
I actually like to upload it to Command because,
Mhm.
one of the rules is that we are supposed to be feeding it and organizing it. And so I will actually time block a little bit every
Mhm.
day and I will choose to go through, my goal is usually 20 contacts a day. Go
Mhm.
through, see if I can edit the information, see if I can add any tags or social media profiles or information if I'm
Mhm.
calling or texting them. And so instead of trying to do the whole database in one day or one week, I systematically go through and just work on a few people at a time as I'm calling them. And so that
Mhm.
way I can really make sure that I'm communicating with it in a systematic way. So,
Yes.
that's what I'm getting at here is it's
Yeah.
really to each their own as long
Mhm.
as you are doing the activities.
Right.
That is the key here. So,
Yes.
before we kind of wrap this up, because I know we're coming up on time here, I wanted to spend a minute looking at this database dashboard. So, I know we're looking at just Harry Potter. Thank you so much. Can you help me understand how to sort my people and view them in different ways from this?
Absolutely. So you can, first of all, you have filter options. So you can filter all contacts, leads by tag. This is really helpful to filter by tags. This is my favorite way to look at people because then I know, okay, well, now I can communicate with all the people that are on my buyers and I need to send them out an email or whatever.
Right.
Or any of these other options as ways to filter. And then you can also customize what kind of view you have. So you can decide, oh, I only need to look at emails or addresses or phone numbers. And you just click on those things.
Oh,
And
that
they
is
pop
so
up over
cool.
here and you can move which way.
No,
So whatever one you want to be first.
that is fantastic.
And then you also can decide how many people you want to view at a time. So you can do anywhere from 10 to 500. This is super helpful if you are trying to look at a lot of people at once. You can change to that 500 view and then you don't have to like arrow over, which can be
Yeah.
annoying.
Best practice there is if you're doing a bulk tag or bulk tag removal or some other bulk action, which we
Mm-hmm.
can show you how to do, then using that 250, that 500 view makes the most sense.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to sit there and, like I said, call people or text people, then
Mm-hmm.
a smaller view, like 10 or 25, makes more sense there. So
Mm-hmm.
really, that's why they give you those different options. It's for different actions and activities.
Mm-hmm.
All
Speaking of
right.
bulk view, if you do
Yes.
this little checkbox here, it'll click and check all of the contacts that I have loaded up right there, which is just 10. And then I have all of these activities that I could do all together, like tags or send text messages, add to email list. Exporting into mailing labels is super handy around the holidays.
Yes, it is.
Or if I wanted to do tags, just for this example, I'll type in buyer. Now all of these people are going to get that tag.
You're doing the famous refresh.
The famous refresh, yes.
That's one thing I always like to make sure people know, because I know, especially if you're just diving into Command, sometimes you're like, I did this thing and it's not showing up. Always, always, always feel free to use that refresh button on your
Yes.
browser. And I highly suggest working from Chrome because it updates and stays more updated a little bit better than some of the others and works better with
Yes.
Command. So, yes.
Yes.
And now you see, you refreshed and you've got some buyers. That's
Now
awesome,
I've got
Sam.
some buyers. And then the last thing that's kind of fun is you can change the way these names are sorted, which is super helpful depending on what you're trying to do. I'm a last name A to Z kind of gal, but I know
That's awesome.
other people are different than me.
Yes, I love that.
All
So,
right.
one final thing I want to point out while we're in here, besides import, I know you mentioned export when we had a group of people selected. Yes, that little KWRI jokingly calls it the meatball menu because it's three little
Yes.
dots in a row. That meatball menu right there allows you to do an export of all your contacts if for some reason you wanted to, say, clean up your database. So maybe you had an import a long time ago that's a hot mess and you want to go through it in spreadsheet or SAM style. You can export all and do that.
Yes.
Now, the final piece we're going to mention is if you are cleaning up that database, you are managing those people, if you select one and try to do an action to it, you will see that there is no delete feature within here. If you choose your little meatballs, you have archive instead. The reason being is we know people accidentally click all the time. You don't want to lose your data because the data is yours. It's important to have. So what happens is Command is created for a two-step system. The first step would be archive, and then if you really truly needed to remove that person 100%, you would actually have to go into the settings into the archive, which you know Sam can demonstrate
There's
if you want to. But
Yeah.
the idea is you go into settings, and then you go into your archive, and then you can delete out of the archive. Again, this is a catch-22 just to help you keep all your data safe. So I wanted to throw that out there because people get confused all the time. If you're trying to enter a contact and it's like, this phone number is already in use, then possibly you archived it and didn't clean out your archive. So
Yeah.
just understand that we are trying to make the steps and processes from getting a contact in through utilizing it, through possibly, archiving it as simple as possible, always while protecting your data.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's database
fun.
in a nutshell.
Yeah. That's
Sam,
it.
thanks so much for driving and for
Yes.
showing us all your email address and phone number. So everybody who's watching, make sure you send Sam an email saying thanks for teaching this
Yeah.
class.
Yeah. I'd love to hear from you.
I love it. Well, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to use this page or reach out to your Market Center Tech Trainer in your office. If for some reason you don't know who that is or you don't have one, reach out to your leadership team and they can help you out. But we hope that you had fun. You learned something in a quick and efficient manner today. And we'll see you next time for our class on how to communicate with that database once you've put it in.
Bye.